Hey YouTube, what is going on? It's Huncho here, back with another video. Today's video is about Windows 7, specifically the FoxOS ISO. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and let's get into the video. I do want to say one more thing. If you are new to the channel, I've created a playlist of previous videos for my channel, so check that out because there might be some things that you're interested in or you want, and I have it nicely sorted down there for you. So if you hit that link down in the description, it will bring you to this guide. Here is a link to his Discord and my Discord. His Discord will bring you to this page, and you're going to want to go to the ISO tab to download his latest ISO, which is this, the version 2. In my Discord, you'll have to scroll down to the FoxOS questions, and that's where you'll find specific questions that are asked about the OS. If you have questions in general, please check out the answered common questions, or if you have more questions to ask, go into the common questions. If you've never installed Windows before, I'm going to quickly run through that. I made a guide for Windows 7, and if you're on a laptop, it's a little more complex, but here is a guide made by Keb. Before I get into installing Windows 7, first I want to go over dual booting, which is what I do and I recommend to do. So that way you can have a Windows 10 where you can completely update it, have full compatibility with programs, and then have an OS that's strictly for gaming. So you're going to open up disk management. Once you're in disk management, you're going to locate your hard drive or SSD, and whatever partition that you're going to split, you're going to right click on it and hit shrink volume. If you do not have enough space, it will let you know. Whatever number you put in here in megabytes is the space that the new OS will have. Every 1000 megabytes is a gigabyte, so this would split the partition into 152 gigabytes. I mentioned here sizes for the partition. Specifically, now that Fortnite is so small, you can get away with a small partition if that's all you're going to do on your OS. Make sure you name your partition something that you'll be able to recognize, so that way in the Windows setup you can choose that partition. If your disk management won't open, it's likely because the services are off. So if you run the registry, we're going to follow this path. So we're going to go into local machine, system, current control set 001, services, and then you're going to scroll down until you find the defrag service, and you're going to change this start to either 2 or 3, and we're going to do the same thing with VDS and change this, and then restart our computer. So now that we've gone through that, we're going to download Rufus, plug in a USB flash drive, you're going to click select, and then find wherever you downloaded the ISO to. So after you've chosen that, here's a download link to get to the Discord again. We're going to check an MS Info 32 by using it in the Run tab again to see if you're in UEFI or Legacy. Then you're going to follow the settings on here, but it should auto switch to these. Then we're going to load up our computer in BIOS, change our boot menu to the USB, so it looks like this in my BIOS. Then we're going to enable CSM, which is most likely going to be found under the advanced mode under boot settings. We're going to save the settings and load up our PC. This should bring you to the Windows 7 install, and then you're going to choose the partition that you want, that you hopefully named something that you can choose. Okay, so now we've installed the OS. Your screen will look like this. You might have to change the resolution to be full screen. The first step is installing the Sata driver using SDIO. Also, if you have an iGPU, this is where you would install it. You should not need to install the network card because it'll most likely be the latest. Next, we're going to install our Nvidia driver or the Amd driver. So we're going to open up NV Clean Install, which looks like this. Now for Fortnite, I use 457.51. Some other people have good results with 456.71. I have not tested for other games, so I can't say if you play other games which one the best is going to be. So you're going to select your driver version, I am going to do some Nvidia profiles for games like Valorant, CSGO, and any other games that you recommend down in the comments on this video. So after you've selected your driver, you're going to select next. When this window pops up, you're going to select all of these boxes. Select next, install. Make sure you allow the PC to trust and don't just walk away because it will take a while. And then right after it downloads, make sure you can open the Nvidia control panel because sometimes it will be bugged and it won't work. Our next step is installing the Net Framework, the VC++, and DirectX. That is going to be found in the APIs needed. DirectX is right here. The net is this application. And the visuals, you can use the install bat and it will do it for you. The next step you want to do is install whatever games you are planning on playing to make sure that they are compatible. So at this point I am going to install Fortnite. You'll want to download my pack. That's an extended folder of things that I've added to the OS. So you need to install the 7-zip up here and then run this reg file after the program extracts and downloads. I do have a supported creator code in Fortnite if you like my content and want to support me in another way. While Fortnite's downloading, I'm going to keep moving forward. So we're going to open up Device Manager. These are all the things that we need to turn off in Device Manager. Like I say here, if your audio does cut out and you can't hear anything, just turn this back on. You're not deleting it, it's just being disabled. Like I say at the bottom of this section, anything that doesn't have the drivers installed, you likely do not need, and if you do need it, you can just turn it back on. I have Intel, so I don't need the AMD host controller. Make sure that when you're disabling your PCI bridges, you're under View Devices by Connection, so you can see if there is anything connected to it. So the Fortnite game bat file will run and delete the Fortnite game folder every time you run it. So it's going to reset the cache and everything, but it will also reset like the textures, the FPS, view distance, and if you play on performance mode. So if you do any of those things, you need to put your game user settings on read only. You can put this in the startup folder or just leave it on your desktop and run it right before you open Fortnite. So now we're going to go into the folder, find where we downloaded Fortnite, most likely program files, Epic Games, Fortnite, Fortnite game, binaries, 164. And now for all 4 applications, we're going to right click, properties, compatibility, and disable visual themes and disable desktop composition, like apply and OK. Next, we're going to do network settings. So open your network and sharing center. Click on the connection. It'll bring you to this screen. You're going to want to go to properties and uncheck anything that you're not going to be using. You will lose internet connection until you restart. Then we're going to go back into properties, configure, power management, uncheck both of these. Go over to the advanced tab. Quickly, I just want to go over a few things in here, otherwise just copy the settings. Interrupt moderation. There's a good study on the DPC latency and how it affects your internet connection. In a perfect world, off would be better, but his article shows that adaptive or medium is better while gaming. So I recommend trying out all 3, adaptive, medium, and off, and see if you can tell a difference or not. If you have a high-end PC, you can turn any of the checksum offloads off. Otherwise, leave them enabled. If you use receive side scaling, use as many queues as you can. However, some Ethernet cards, like mine, don't have it. For the buffers, you'll find information on whether high or low is better. Start with something like 80, unless you have Intel with Gigabyte Ethernet, which they recommend to go with the max, and I've found that to be better for me. But just work your way up from 80. or just keep it on the default, which is going to be like 256, and that'll be fine as well. Turn off any of the power settings and just copy everything that's on here. If it asks you to restart, just go ahead and restart and then open it back up. Go to your connection, properties, click on the IPv4, go to advanced, go to wins, make sure this is unchecked and disable NetBIOS over TCP. So after we've completed the network steps, we're going to go back into Device Manager. And we're going to disable the power saving features for the USBs and disable the wake functionality for the mouse and keyboard devices. So if you just leave it on devices by type, you can right click on all of these controllers, go to properties, power management, and uncheck the boxes. Go under your keyboard and mice and go under properties, power management, and uncheck the device to wake the computer. Now we're going to turn off the Windows write cache buffer. So if you go to view devices by connection, under your PCI bridge that's not your GPU, you'll find your SSD or hard drive. Right click, properties, then go to policies, check the box and click OK. To disable the drive search indexing, you're going to go to your file explorer, the C drive, or whatever the Windows is on. Right click on this, properties, allow files on this drive to have context indexed. We're going to uncheck that, hit apply, and then apply changes to the subfolders and files, and continue. Ignore all. Next, we're going to import the power plans on here. So if you go to the folder I downloaded, I created a bat file that will download them. And then you'll go to power options, show additional plans, and you'll see the ones that are added here. Personal preference, I play with idle disabled for the better input. Tweaking your GPU driver. So if you followed along with my Fortnite videos, I haven't updated anything yet because the best drivers are 457.51 and 456.71 for Fortnite right now. I'm going to go through and test that, as well as for other games and profiles in the near future. So what we're going to do, if you want to import my profile, is go to my folder, GPU, 457.51, inspector, open up Nvidia profile inspector, hit the import button, import profile, and it'll be in that same folder. Okay. So after the green bar is done loading, you can back out of it. Next, we're going to open up Nvidia control panel, go to manage 3D settings, add Fortnite in here, turn the image sharpening off, and turn low latency to off. If you use performance mode, you can't use Nvidia Reflex, so turn low latency mode on. Then go down to adjust desktop size and position, make sure you're on no scaling, and if you say display, keep it on display and override. If you only have GPU, then leave this box unchecked. Then go to change resolution and make sure you're on the resolution that you want, 1920 by 1080, 240. I've listed the AMD settings here. There isn't a profile like Nvidia Inspector for AMD where you can go in and change settings. We're going to go to the optional tweaks. And now inside this folder, what I do for Fortnite is I remove the libraries, disable Spectra and Meltdown. I remove the arrows. Under debloaters, I remove the languages for Spotify and debloat Discord. So now we're going to do the network tweaks, also found in optional tweaks. This is the default. Run the bat file. He has a guide for installing his custom driver for Realtek. And now this host file that you see here, either cut or copy, and then go to your C drive with Windows 7, go to Windows, scroll down to System 32, find drivers, and then go to etc. This is going to be the default, but I already have a default in my folder as well. We're going to paste this and replace. Back in the tweaking optional tweaks folder, don't just run these, make sure you test them. Now into the driver services folder. Back into tweaking, optional tweaks. Now a lot of people don't want to disable a lot of services because they don't want to lose functionality. But remember, for the majority of people that are using this as a dual boot, you don't need functionality because you're playing games on this Windows 7. So you're going to go to driver services, delete the useless services. You're going to put this in your startup. So run shell startup. And now we're going to open sudo and run bare drivers and bare services. Before you run bare services though, you need to set a static IP. So you're going to run again cmd, type in ipconfig, and now you'll see this address pop up. Open up your network access again. Go to properties, IPv4. Instead of obtaining this automatically, just enter the address that you see here. So after we have it set, we're going to run sudo one at a time. With the bare drivers and the bare services. You're going to click on Browse, Desktop, Tweaking, Optional Tweaks, Driver Services, and then click on it. Make sure you restart it for each one to make sure everything's working fine. And then you can always just do the exact same thing but put the default in if you want to go back. Under the miscellaneous folder, open up MSI utility. Now I set MSI mode for all of these. Be careful putting MSI mode for things that don't say that they're supported. Majority of the time you won't blue screen, but sometimes you will if you change it. And then I make sure everything's on undefined priority. For the interrupt affinity policy tool, if you don't know how to test your cores for FPS and DPC latency, I'm going to do a video on that in the future as well, but just skip this step because you could end up setting it on a bad core and actually have lower FPS. So I'm just going to quickly go over this. I find my GPU, setting the mask on my CPU 2, which is actually core 3. If you run as admin, none of these errors matter. I'm going to find my PCI bridge that it's connected to by going into Device Manager, View Devices by Connection, finding my GPU, which is here under this PCI bridge, 010. And then I'm going to set the mask to the same thing as my GPU. And now for USB, I'm going to set it to my CPU 4 on here, which is my 5th core. As I say here, if you have hyperthreading, you want to make sure that you're setting only to your core and not the thread. So 0 is going to be the core and 1 is the thread, and it follows that trend all the way down. And you can check with these two programs, but until you reset, it won't show up. Now for timer resolution, some people will say to set it, some people won't. I, however, do for Fortnite. So if you have this on your desktop, you should be able to run the bat file. And now it will be a service running in the background once you restart your computer. And I'll show you once I restart that it's running. If you do want to clean your RAM because you run many things, you can either use the memory cleaner by Dansky, which will look like this, or ISLC, which I've shown in previous videos and many people know how to run. So I'm not going to go over it, but these are the settings you would set it to. For custom resolution, I've already made a guide and video on this. So if you want to use display scaling, OBS settings for recording, and then in my folder, I also have the overclocking driver to overclock your controller or mouse if you've done that previously. And this overclocks the USB on your PC, not actually your controller. Remove old devices is found in tweaking, optional tweaks, device cleanup, and then select all and remove selected. And now for Windows 32 priority. I'm not going to recommend any of them because everyone has their own opinion, everyone's system's different. But if you go into tweaking, Win32 priority, there's a bunch here and under this folder. So you can't run this process in Fortnite, but sometimes it works for other games. But this is what I look at to see what's running on my computer. So if you go to services, you'll see STR, set timer resolution, running. And then if you go to miscellaneous and the timer resolution, you'll see that it's already set at 0.5, so you don't need to have anything running. Lastly, I run the remove copyright thing from the beginning, and then I set a background for my computer. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'm going to keep bringing you guys content here in 2021, and you aren't going to want to miss out, so make sure you turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. Peace out.